This video contains a generated visuals and narration. The content is based on ancient Greek accounts from Megasthenes' lost book Indica, reconstructed through classical sources.
इस वीडियो में द्वारा निर्मित दृश्य और वर्णन शामिल हैं। सामग्री में स्थनी की एक खोई हुई पुस्तक इंडिका से प्राचीन यूनानी विवरणों पर आधारित है जिसे शास्त्रीय स्रोतों के माध्यम से पुनर्निर्मित किया गया है।
In the 4th century US, a Greek ambassador named Megasthenes arrived in the Indian subcontinent. Sent by Seleucus I Nicator, he entered the court of Chandragupta Maurya at Pataliputra. What he saw during his stay in India inspired a book called Indica, rare foreign account of early Indian civilization. India, according to Megasthenes, was a land of extremes and wonders. He described it as a vast country bordered by mountains in the north and oceans in the south, with countless rivers like the Ganga, Yamuna, and Indus irrigating the plains. The land was fertile, the crops abundant, and the rivers sacred. He observed that India had no slavery, unlike Greece, and the people were governed more by custom than by force. Megasthenes marveled at the monsoon rains and their influence on agriculture, the division of seasons, and the abundance of natural resources such as gold, silver, and precious stones. Megasthenes wrote that Indian society was divided into 7 distinct classes or professions: philosophers, farmers, soldiers, herdsmen, artisans, magistrates, and counselors. Each had its own duties and respected place. Unlike the rigid caste system of later centuries, this classification focused more on work and function. He admired how this structure created order and helped manage such a vast population without chaos. India, at that time, was united under the strong and visionary rule of Chandragupta Maurya. Megasthenes was deeply impressed by the administration and law enforcement in the empire. He described a centralized government led by the king but operated by ministers and officials chosen for their ability. There were secret agents, tax officers, city police, and market inspectors. Everything from trade to crime was regulated with discipline. The empire was divided into provinces, each under a governor, and villages were the core units of administration. Justice was delivered swiftly, and bribery was rare. For Megasthenes, this level of governance was unfamiliar and admirable. Pataliputra, the capital of the Mauryan Empire, amazed Megasthenes. It was a city larger than any Greek city he had seen. He wrote that it stretched along the banks of the river Ganga, protected by massive wooden walls, watchtowers, and moats. Inside the city, wide roads connected neighborhoods filled with houses, gardens, and temples. The royal palace, made from polished wood and stone, was richly decorated and filled with art. The Greek visitor considered it more splendid than the palaces of Persia. Pataliputra was not just a political center, it was a hub of trade, learning, and diplomacy. Philosophers, merchants, and ministers mingled in its halls. Megasthenes noted that the Mauryan Empire possessed one of the world's largest and most organized armies. It had over 600,000 infantry, 30,000 cavalry, 9,000 war elephants, and thousands of chariots. The army was divided into 6 boards and 30 officers who looked after recruitment, equipment, training, and strategy. Elephants were the pride of the army, used not just in battle, but also for transporting goods and royal travel. Law and order were strict. There were rules for everything from public behavior to food quality in markets. Megasthenes remarked that crime was rare, and the people were generally honest and peaceful. Megasthenes was fascinated by Indian religious life. He classified Indian philosophers into 2 major groups: the Brahmanas and the Shramanas. The Brahmanas, learned in the Vedas, performed sacrifices, rituals, and advised kings. They were respected across all regions. The Shramanas, such as Buddhists and Jains, lived as renunciants. They meditated, followed moral principles, and sought enlightenment through self-discipline. Unlike Greek religion based on multiple gods with human qualities, Indian spirituality emphasized karma, dharma, and liberation from rebirth. This deeply philosophical approach impressed Megasthenes. Visuals, temple rituals, monks meditating, scenes of debate between philosophers, cave temples. India's flora and fauna enchanted Megasthenes. He wrote of great beasts like elephants, tigers, and crocodiles, and noted the Indian love for nature. Sacred groves, healing herbs, and wildlife sanctuaries were common. He observed that Indians respected all living beings, a reflection of their spiritual beliefs. The monsoons, he said, were a unique Indian feature bringing both life and chas. He was amazed at the fertility of the land, which could grow rice, wheat, sugar cane, and spices in different seasons. Perhaps what moved Megasthenes most was the simplicity and virtue of Indian life. He claimed Indians were generally truthful, nonviolent, and respectful of elders and law. Family life was strong. Parents raised children with moral discipline. People ate simple food, mainly vegetarian, and followed personal hygiene. Cities were organized, villages self-sufficient, and artisans proud of their work. He also noted festivals, music, games, and the joy Indians found in community. Though foreign in eyes, India felt to him like a deeply human land where thought, spirituality, and daily living were in harmony.